Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
Hello, special agents. You have come to the right place. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs. We are here with a special edition of The Blacklist Exposed with our Season 1 special archive episodes. The following episode appeared on the TV Talk Network for Season 1 of The Blacklist, and we're bringing it to you here on The Blacklist Exposed, remastered and used with permission from TV Talk. We hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy this special episode from Season 1.
You're tuned in to TV Talk, The Blacklist. Welcome to TV Talk, America's #1 TV talk show network. And now it's time for TV Talk, The Blacklist.
Daycares and primary schools are child's play when it comes to real germ warfare. Welcome to TV Talk, The Blacklist. I'm Troy.
And I'm Dave, here to discuss numbers 119, 120, 121, and 122 on the Blacklist. The Pavlovich Brothers, airing April 21st, 2014. You know, it's been a few weeks, so we wanted to let you all know that Troy and I have been getting great rewards just for watching our favorite TV shows like The Blacklist and listening to all the great music that's featured on The Blacklist. But these rewards, they're not just for Troy and I. You can also take part in these awesome rewards by going to Viggle.com/TV Talk and downloading the free Viggle app.
That's right. Using Viggle allows Dave and I to check into The Blacklist or any of the TV shows that we watch live, as well as listening to songs. This allows us to earn Viggle points that can be redeemed for actual stuff like music and movie downloads, gift cards, electronics, and even more. And because you guys are loyal TV Talk listeners, you get a special offer, but you have to go to Viggle.com/TV Talk to learn about this great offer and to download the free Viggle app today. So germ warfare is all what it's about this week, Dave. Interesting that we start off with kind of a little surgery procedure. I had a really hard time understanding if we were actually in China or if we were in America, because they said it was in China based on the little blurb they put up on the bottom of the screen. But then they started speaking English in the back of the van, and I was like, wait,
well, what's going on?
Where are we?
Yeah, and it looked like it was just some type of a vaccination thing going on. They were in some type of a World Health Organization clinic, and it looked like they were just getting vaccinated. And our primary person this week takes the shot and then collapses.
Yeah, Xiaoping Li. Apparently, she is hot commodities, and they really need to make sure that she is safely taken care of. And we find out that the Chinese, they have a heart. They're not all just, get the job done and kind of keep the machine moving there. They do cave in and actually send Xiaoping to the hospital.
Yeah, and as always the case seems to be with the Blacklist, nothing is as it seems, and this is actually a giant ruse just to get Xiaoping Li out of the country. There's some deception goes on here, and Xiaoping ends up in a delivery van instead of the ambulance. She's actually getting whisked off to D.C. They're sending her back to Washington.
Well, and then it switches over to our blacklisters, the Pavlovich brothers. And the one thing that I was trying to figure out through the course of this episode is who was actually behind getting Xiaoping Li to the States in the first place. Because I think that the signals were crossed. And because they knew Xiaoping was coming, that the Pavlovich brothers then were basically put on alert and said, hey, go intercept.
Yeah, and I like to tie in with the first episode, too, the fact that these Pavlovich brothers are if you remember all the way back to episode 1 when the little girl gets kidnapped on the bridge. These are the same, they're really not assassins. What would you call them? They're just
extraction experts.
Hostage takers.
Yeah.
I believe this is the first set of blacklisters to come back. When they were in the first episode, they weren't a blacklister. In this episode, they are.
Yeah, and I thought that was really, my wife and I were sitting there watching it going, why are they showing us the opening? Has the show been off that long that they got to remind people of the first episode?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's funny you mentioned that because I'm like, why are they going all the way back to season 1, episode 1?
Yeah, and usually when they do these like little pre-roll trailers at the beginning of the show, it's because something's going to be be relevant. So I thought it was great that, John and John went ahead and kind of threw this in there to basically have kind of a nod back to tie stuff together, because remember, it was kind of all the way back in that first episode also that we learned about the box and what Tom may or may not be way back then as well.
Yeah, we've been following this for a long time, haven't we? So I was just sitting here thinking that's two firsts. This is the first time we've had multiple blacklisters in one episode, because we have 4 actual blacklisters this time. And this is also the first time that we've had any type of returning bad guy.
That's right. And we talked about the fact that there could be returners, right? We had the guy who was doing the Russian spy stuff with the power grid outage. We might see him come back, because he wasn't really, the one, even though he was a blacklister, he wasn't actually caught. It was the kid that was caught. So I think this was great to have, kind of a throwback scene to these Pavlovich brothers coming back to DC. What I really love about these guys is, man, they are efficient.
That they are. They are highly trained and, efficient. I can't think of a better word. That's exactly what they are.
So when they have Xiaoping Li and they are going to take her up onto the roof to get to the helicopter, when they said that the, transport has been diverted and all that good stuff, how many people are working for the brothers and how many people are working for Wrestler and his crew? That's what I couldn't figure out in that scene.
Yeah. And I think purposely so. I mean, it comes down to that whole thing. You can't trust anybody in this show. You really can't. And, you just knew something was going to go wrong, because, they decided at the last minute to instead of taking her to DC, they're going to bring her to the FBI headquarters.
There had to have been 3 groups there, because it seemed like one group was in charge of the original bringing of Xiaoping Li to the States. Then you had Wrestler's team pull up, and then you, of course, had the Pavlovich brothers start shooting everything. And I thought for sure I was going to have my first Wrestler punched in the face moment of the night. And Wrestler gets away almost scot-free in this episode, I think.
Yeah. They kind of take Xiaoping Li, and they actually kind of get off unscathed. By the time they make it up to the heliport pad, they're actually already long gone. They're out of gunshot range even.
And this is the thing that still perplexes me about the show a little bit, right? It's a nit, but it's like you got a chopper that took off. We're in Washington. Isn't there some Air Force base nearby? Can't we scramble the fighters?
You would certainly think so. You would think they'd have a way of being able to track this thing.
Oh, man, I tell you. But, we move along, and I think that the one thing most people are really interested about talking tonight is, of course, Mr. Keene. It's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith goes to Washington, right? Now we have Mr. and Mrs. Keene, and they're not so keen on each other anymore, because I think Tom is starting to smell a rat.
He's on to Liz. He knows Liz knows. It's a very unsettled episode between them. High action. There's a lot of great Liz and Tom stuff this hour.
Let's fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about the museum. So Tom is going to go there. He's going to make a drop and switch some information about. And why would Liz go into the museum? That's the one thing I couldn't figure out. You could see that we got skateboarder Taylor, we got, CIA telephone guy. I'm just going to come up with nicknames as we go along this evening. I think it'll be fun. But there's people obviously that are working this and are tailing him and trying to get the information. You got Mr. Photo Dude who's taking the picture of the license plate. Why would Liz insert herself and cause the operation to go south? I
think we catch Red in a lie here too, because when we see all these people, the skateboarder guy and all that, Liz and Red are sitting in a car. Red tells Liz they work for you. All those guys work for you. To me, implying they work for the FBI. But we find out later in the episode that's not true. I mean, he is being tailed. Tom is being tailed, but not by the FBI.
I don't know if it's a lie per se, because technically if Red and the FBI have an arrangement and they're working for Red, then technically they are, quote unquote, working for the FBI. I mean, so we still have this thing where Red, I don't think, ever lies to Lizzie. Right.
Well, and you can also take it from the standpoint of, we're working under the assumption here that Red is protecting Liz. So when he's saying that, even if it is Red doing the tailing, he's doing it for her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Again, there's this interesting, the wordplay that goes on between the characters. You just gotta really gotta pay attention.
Well, you talk about wordplay. This one I thought was actually really interesting. They figure out who this guy is, who they were going to do the drop with, and they follow him and figure out that he's part of this college, like a professor or something. And of course, Red gets this, math book, and he's like, dude, why has it got to be math? And,
it's calculus or something.
Right. Multi-dimensional or multivariable calc, I believe it was. And so when he goes to sit down and he has this conversation about, this guy in town that fixed his water pump or whatever, did you notice behind him on the computer screen that it said relaxation station?
I did see that. Yes.
I thought that was just so great because Red just kind of like, I'm just going to take a load off, kind of tell this little story.
Going to chill a little bit.
I'm going to chill at the relaxation station.
But that's interesting when they at the National Archive, the scene where this drop is going on. I wasn't sure if Tom was dropping to this guy or if this guy was dropping to Tom. Obviously, we find out that he was dropping to Tom. He was to deliver this book to him for some unknown reason.
And the thing that I couldn't figure out was he tipped off because he thought he saw Liz, or was he tipped off because he saw the security camera and he's like, no, let's not do it here. So, I mean, he had a vibe to begin with, obviously, but I think the real reason was because he saw the security camera and didn't want to do the drop on tape.
Yeah, well, because they do that little quick take thing where Liz is looking over the stairs and she backs up just at the last second as he looks up, and then he looks to the left and sees the camera, and then he tells the guy, yeah, not now, and takes off. So I have to agree with you. I think it's because the camera was right there.
And of course she could have been tailing him the entire time, right? Because in the beginning of the episode, she plants that bug inside of his keychain. So I don't know how much of that actually came into play, because I thought Red already had the tail on him anyway, or was Red actually using the bug to track him?
Yeah, I don't know. I wondered that same thing when they said that. But, Red never has just one method of anything. So he's probably doing both. He's probably tailing them and has the bug planted. Yeah. He leaves no stone unturned.
It's a good redundancy effort, right? When one server goes down, another server comes up.
Exactly.
Then we have, more with Tom and Liz. The thing that I loved about their relationship this evening is that even as they were quipping back and forth, it still seemed like there may be some general kind of caring, a general kind of interest in each other, even though Liz felt completely duped by Tom the entire 2 years.
Violated, yeah.
Just all kinds of great stuff that we could talk about this evening. Let's go back to Xiaoping Li and the brothers, because these guys are being kept at some kind of farm. And I love, again, how the Blacklist put this together. Although I thought Aram did a really great job this evening of putting 2 and 2 together with the tobacco and then the corn producers. It wasn't like it was very quickly spelled out like the Archimedes principle was later in the episode. That one I thought was a stretch.
That really was. But and let me get this straight, too. They were able to find residue on the wrecked helicopter, correct?
Yeah, it was something about the fuel signature, and based on the fuel signature, they were able to track it back to some tobacco byproduct, and then because of the tobacco byproduct, the government was basically paying people not to grow tobacco, so therefore they started to produce corn instead. So where's the only place in the area within chopper mileage that they could get tobacco and corn?
And that actually kind of makes sense.
Well, I guess the biggest thing I want to be careful of is that nobody starts sweating out my high fructose corn syrup in my pop for tobacco.
That would be bad. That would be a bad day.
Or vice versa, right?
Yeah, exactly. Neither one would have very pleasant endings with them.
No. But then this is where it got really confusing for me tonight. So my assumption is, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I think most of the TV talkers are going to agree with us on this, but I think that they were outside of the one building, right, with Red, and he was talking with Dembe, and he's like, so how are you going to get inside the building? Then all of a sudden we switch over to, Xiaoping Li being with the brothers, and then the next thing you know, it's like, okay, Red's showing up with the brothers, and it's like, well, I thought it was just outside the other building, so how did he get all the way to the farm that quickly? And so then it comes basically down to Liz and Wrestler showing up with nobody at the farm, and now they're back at the other building with the Pavlovich brothers storming the castle.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't. I was afraid maybe I just dozed off or looked away or something, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute, because there's that scene with the supposed homeless guy who walks up and puts the bomb in the garbage dumpster.
I totally thought he was working for Red.
Yeah, well, I did too. And then here it turns out it's one of those Pavlovich brothers, right?
Which I guess he was working for Red because
that's
our assumption, right? He went,
but I don't know where we made the jump from where the lady was being held to where Tom was hiding. I don't understand how that happened.
And I think it's when Red showed up at the place with the Pavlovich brothers, and I think Red made the deal. It's like, I'm going to pay you whatever you were getting paid to transport Xiaoping Li, whatever that sum is, because I need you guys to go do this other task for me. So he kind of makes that barter switch, if you will.
Right. And that's explained after after the fact. We find that out after the raid and all that stuff has gone down. Liz and Red talk, and then he says, I tried to get the girl, but they wouldn't do it. It was all I could do to get Tom.
Well, which is a kind of I guess, again, Red doesn't lie, right? It's withholding enough of the truth because, miraculously Red sits there and he's like, yeah, but if I had to smuggle somebody out of town, I'd use this guy, which of course he then told the Pavlovich brothers, it's like, hey, if you want to get out of town, you got to use this guy. This guy,
right. So they're all converging at the same point, yes.
But the real question I have then is, when did Xiaoping Li actually write on the wall? Because remember, in the beginning of the episode, she's kind of face down on the mattress. They turn around. It looked like she grabbed something and then went back face down again. So did she just grab the chalk at that moment and wasn't actually writing on the wall, and then she writes on the wall later?
What I wrote in my notes when I was watching the show is when they bring her into that dungeony type room where there's just a mattress on the ground. During that moment, she picks up something. I think it was just another, like a piece of limestone or something, and she scratches that on the wall. They're just holding her in this room until they find out, what they're to do with her next. She scribbles that on the wall. What are the chances there'd be a piece of chalk laying there? That seems kind of a far stretch. I just assumed it was just a piece of, because the walls were all kind of broken and crumbling.
Right. I'm assuming it's your standard, white chalky rock that you used to write on your concrete.
Right.
When
a piece
you were
of
a kid,
limestone or something. Right.
Hopscotch,
Exactly.
right.
And she just, looks like 4 characters she scribbles on there?
Yeah. She basically writes the Archimedes principle formula on the wall.
As any of us would. If I was being held captive, that's what I would do.
So if you're putting this whole thing together, then you're assuming that in the opening sequence, when she lands on the mattress, she just grabs the rock, doesn't actually do the writing, because she can't write anything then until when Red shows up, because she doesn't know at that point that they're going to smuggle her out by boat, because Red would have to give them that information, obviously. And
that really, you're 100% right when you said that was a stretch, because apparently this principle has to do with water displacement. So therefore, since she wrote this property up there, that means she's going to be on a boat because boats displace water.
Or she was just really hoping to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel. Could be just as plausible,
It could be. Why didn't she just draw a picture of a boat? That'd be a little easier, don't you think?
Rubber ducky or something. Oh man. But let's move over to back over to Tom and Liz, because now we're getting into the good stuff, right? We have her calling Red, and Red's basically like, don't go after Tom, you need to come take care of Xiaoping, and she's like, no, I'll take care of Tom myself. And I don't know what was more unnerving, was to have Tom sitting there in my house knowing that the jig is up, or having the Pavlovich brothers sharing one of your fine bottles of wine.
Yeah, I don't think either of them is a particularly good situation, quite frankly.
So, but apparently, the Pavlovich brothers were paid enough that they leave Liz alone, and now we have Mr. and Mrs. Keen in WrestleMania 1. I guess. Yeah.
And I was a little surprised. I think we were all hoping that Liz would go a little crazy on him, and she certainly does. Wrenches are involved. Body parts are broken, but I really liked the little, and I didn't even think about this when she does that, because she breaks his thumb, right, with the pair of pliers. He's kind of not handcuffed, but what did I call it hogtied, but with like those plastic strip things.
Yep.
To this chair, and she breaks his thumb, and not even thinking, I didn't think of it either until it actually happened. When she breaks his thumb, it allows him to slip his hands out, and he's able to get free.
And it goes to the great writing. It's like, Tom, can we be honest? I friggin' hate pancakes, man. 2 years you've been cooking me pancakes. I hate pancakes. And he's like, you know what? I love it when you break my thumb, because now I'm going to kick your butt.
Yeah, boy, and they really do. I mean, he's like, he's rolling across the table on the chair, and I mean, there's some pretty serious fighting going on here.
But before the fighting breaks down, I thought the one really powerful scene tonight was when Tom was really getting at Liz, because you could see that Liz either loved Tom, cared for Tom. I mean, she's deeply hurt, right, by this whole situation, and he's like, man, it was those shoes. When you drew that heart on those shoes, I had you. And you know what? I felt sorry for you. I was like, man, does that cut to the core.
Yeah, it really does. That was really great. But what's he say before? Oh, before that, he just, I don't know if he's just doing it to egg her on or what, but at the early part of this, all he kept saying was, I was doing my job.
Don't say you're doing your job.
More and more pissed.
Don't say you're doing your job. It's like saying, don't tell me that I'm telling the truth, or don't, like your standard spousal battle that you're going to have. And she's like, don't say it again.
Yeah. It was good. It was very good.
Very well written, very well acted tonight. I think that we're going to see a lot of interesting twists, because after all that's said and done, you never bring, a gun to a spousal battle because you just end up handcuffing your partner to the post anyway.
Right, exactly. But Tom has to, before it's all said and done, again, he's got to throw even more puzzle into the thing. He tells Liz, don't trust Reddington. He's not who he seems to be. I'm one of the good guys.
The couple of things that were in this episode tonight kind of throw him back to Alias. Was the Tom going to the phone booth. He's kind of like marking his way as he goes along to the drops, picks up the phone, gives out the secret code to get the secure line, to get clearance, and then, of course, right at the end there, some real big secret about someone that you thought was a good character. All of a sudden, you go to this secret safe deposit box, and there's, of course, something inside. And what we don't know, of course, is what it was.
Right. And this was again, another fantastic reveal because Tom didn't have to give her this information. He didn't have to. He said, I know you found the key in the lamp. I know you have it. Use it. It goes to the safety deposit box at this location. Open it up. You're going to find some truth inside. He didn't have to tell her. He really didn't have to tell her that.
Right. And what I loved was the fact that the first kind of weapon that Lizzie was able to get to cleanly was the lamp that she smacked him over the head with. It's like, take your key and shove it.
Cliffhanger ending a bit because we don't see what that is. It's obviously a picture.
That's what everybody's saying on Twitter. They're saying photograph. It looked like a photograph. It was the size of a photograph, but we'll throw it out to the talk back question of the week to all of you, fellow Blacklist TV Talk listeners. What did Lizzie see in the contents of the envelope? Go ahead and speculate. Share. It's going to be fun. Hopefully we get the answer next week, but of course it probably won't be until the end of season 1. Again, that talkback question, what did Lizzie see in the contents of the envelope? Answers to this question and other thoughts are coming up next, but to leave a response yourself, you do need the free TV Talk app. So head on over to tvtalkapp.com to get the full TV Talk experience for iOS and Android.
And don't forget, you got to head over to vigil.com/TV Talk for that special offer. And even if you listen to the show via the TV Talk app or something else, we want our community to grow. So leave us a 5-star written review at iTunes. It helps more people to discover our community and lets everyone know how much you love TV Talk and TV Talk The Blacklist.
The show's not done yet. The talkback clips are coming up next. Go deeper into the mystery of The Blacklist with other fans just like you. We will talk at you next week. Until then, I'm Troy.
And I'm Dave, watching my 6 so I don't get my butt kicked by my spouse. Or else I might just find myself on The Blacklist.
And now it's time for this week's Talkback Clips.
We hope you enjoyed this special version of The Blacklist Exposed, previously aired on the TV Talk Network and used with permission. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsider.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of The Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.